What's up, you guys? This is Devin with Century Effects Studios, back with another video, and today we're going to be comparing the lavalier Rode Wireless Go against the Rode NTG-2 shotgun microphone. These two are some of my favorite devices to record audio, and yes, they do the exact same thing, but in totally different ways. They're two totally different products, and that's why we're comparing them up against each other so you know what you get as a buyer. Now, I'm not sponsored by Rode, but I do have these two Rode products. Now, I love the sound of my NTG-2, and I like the sound of my Rode Wireless Go. I'm going to give my thoughts on both of these mics at the end of this video so you guys know exactly where I stand versus where you want to stand. Now, first off, we need to understand that both of these mics pretty much cost the same amount of money. Now, the Rode Wireless Go, for those of you who do not know, is a wireless lavalier setup and a microphone all in one package, and it's sitting right here on my chest. For those of you who can't see it, let me take it off. You can see it right here, and I did a review on this unit here. Now, I have not done a review on the Rode NTG-2 shotgun microphone, but as you can see, it's right here, boomed out of frame. Let's get this out of frame before you guys start telling me in the comments that it's not out of frame. All right, still about 6 inches from my face, but the big difference between these two audio recording devices are that they are hooked up in vastly different ways. First off, you got to understand that these two microphones are drastically different. One is a lavalier microphone that, you know, it lapels, it sits on your chest, and it just plugs into the camera, and it's wireless. See, you see no wireless. This is the Rode Wireless Go. This is the one I'm talking about. It's a very extremely simple setup, and as a matter of fact, it was designed to be simple, but that can work against you, and I'll talk about that later. Now, the Rode NTG-2 shotgun mic, which is boomed overhead here, as you can already understand, it's boomed, so that means it's totally different in the entire setup. It looks like a cylindrical tube, and it has little interference slits in the side, and it actually has to be plugged into an XLR jack. This XLR jack is ran to a recorder separately. Now, it can be plugged into your DSLR via other means. You can get like some kind of a Tascam DR60D Mark II, which accepts the XLR jacks that it's plugged into, and it has to supply phantom power, or you can plug a battery up into this thing, and you can actually get phantom power that way. But you have to do a lot to set this Rode NTG-2 shotgun microphone up. You have to put it on a boom pole or get a sound tech to actually boom it overhead, attached to a pole, and you have to monitor the sound because he's probably or she's probably going to be moving back and forth with the sound. And just like a light source, the closer you bring it to a subject, the louder it gets or the bigger it becomes in the actual production. And the further away you move it, the less of a presence you'll get from your main signal. So, with all that being said, what are you going to choose? Because think about it. With the Rode NTG-2 shotgun microphone, it may cost almost the exact amount, maybe a little bit more than this Rode Wireless Go. But you have to understand that this Rode NTG-2 shotgun microphone you have to also pay for an XLR cable if you don't have it. You have to pay for a recorder if you don't have it, because your camera, if you're using a DSLR or just something that's mainly for that cheap video sector of the market, you're not going to have XLR inputs most of the time, or outputs for that matter. So you're going to have to find a way to power it and get that audio recorded to your camera. And if you're doing it separately like me, then you're going to have to find some kind of a way to sync it in post. And syncing can be a nightmare. Now, some of us video junkies know that Premiere Pro and Final Cut, the new versions, have a way you can sync these things in post. But if you can't sync these things in post because you don't have the software or for some other reason, then you're going to have to find out how to do it manually, and that can be time consuming and it can be very frustrating if you don't get it right. With all that being said, the Rode NTG-2 can be an expensive and painstaking process to get your audio from your subject to your actual production and out to YouTube or whatever video format you're producing. Now, with all that being said, the Rode Wireless Go is actually a really simple device. All you do is cut it on, both devices, the receiver and the transmitter. The transmitter will transmit, of course, your sound to the actual camera via the receiver that will be mounted on your hot shoe. I'm pretty sure most of you guys who have a DSLR or some type of upgraded camera that you have a hot shoe on top of it. That is also plugged into your camera, and your camera meters the sound. So you don't really have to meter your sound. With the Rode NTG-2, you have to meter and make sure that sound is not clipping, it's not too loud, because last thing you want is to have a botched clip. I can already see here on my Zoom F4 that I'm in the orange zone when it comes to my Rode NTG-2. I might have to bring it down a little bit in post, if you know what I mean. So you also have 3 gain stages here on the Rode Wireless Go. But 3 gain stages is not as much as a professional, H4 product would give you, or most products that require phantom power or use phantom power to power a microphone. So usually with the products that actually have microphones plugged into them that solely record, they tend to give you more breathing room when it comes to metering your audio or tuning your audio when you're in the field. Say for example, you have somebody with a very soft voice, you can crank that gain up. Or if you have somebody with a very loud, boisterous voice, you can pull that gain down while you're actually recording, because the recording device actually is separate from the actual microphone itself in most cases, especially in professional situations when you're going to want to get the best sound possible. The reason why you separate your audio device from your actual camera itself, because your camera's preamps and your microphone and your camera aren't going to do the best job. It's like putting your camera in auto mode when you're taking pictures or video. You use this process to make your camera do everything for you, but this process works at a hindrance because your camera doesn't know every single thing you might want, and it can't possibly get every little situation correct. Whereas when a human is actually metering audio, you can actually meter it as you go, because nobody actually knows what's going to happen. Somebody might yell, laugh, clap, these things, and you need to be able to prepare for it. So you can do other things like limit and compress your sound to make sure it's in a workable space by the time you get it into the actual computer. But if you have a camera, especially if it's not a higher end camera that doesn't have XLR jacks, you might not have all these features at your hand. A dedicated sound recorder like the Zoom F4 can give you that, but that costs money as well, which all adds to the price of the Rode NTG-2 or any other shotgun microphone, depending on how you plug it in. Now, if you have like a Canon C200, 300, 500, 700, then you won't have this problem, because usually they have built-in XLRs or an XLR module where you can plug in. Or if you have a higher end camera, ENG camera or something like that, you have XLRs ready to go and you can deal with the settings there. But chances are, if you're watching this video, you probably don't have money for that. So you're gonna have to get some kind of separate audio device to get this thing to work. I had to say all that, guys, because you got to understand exactly how to upgrade your audio, because my preference is actually to use the Rode NTG-2. Now, the Rode Wireless Go is good for certain things, but the Rode NTG-2, in my opinion, has the best audio quality. Now, this is the portion where I tell you guys what I think about these microphones. The Rode NTG-2 has the best audio quality because it works. It's crisp, it's present, and it's a shotgun microphone. Now, the difference between a shotgun and a lavalier is that the shotgun itself rejects off-axis noises. If there's something behind it, it'll reject it. You won't hear it. It won't be as prevalent in the shot. If you have something on the sides of the microphone, it won't be as prevalent in the shot. The most audio that's being picked up is concentrated in the center of the microphone, which should be pointed at your subject. Now, as far as the lavalier microphone, even though it's sitting here in the center, it picks up stuff right above it, of course, but it does not necessarily reject off-axis noises. Now, the fact that it's so close to your talent makes it very, very concentrated. And it works really, really well when concentrating your voice over all the other ambient noise, but it won't work nearly as well as this Rode NTG-2 shotgun microphone. The NTG-2 shotgun microphone also has a better self noise. You don't hear as much self noise when it comes to this Rode NTG-2 shotgun microphone, because it's designed to have better innards or better electronics inside of it. Now, when it comes to this Rode NTG-2, when it comes to this Rode Wireless Go, you might hear a little bit of self noise, a little bit of hissing from the preamps and things of that nature, because it's a cheaper product that's extremely, extremely small. So it doesn't have bigger devices built for a better reproduction of sound, if you will. With my opinions of the Rode Wireless Go, I feel like the microphone itself makes me feel like I'm covered by some kind of a blanket, or I'm not as clear as I could be, which means that the higher end frequencies or the higher frequencies don't come off as present in the actual videos that you film with this thing. Also, the lows are a bit muddy. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect microphone. It's an internal microphone, and it's kind of like a way you can work with the device without having to worry about extra things like hooking up an external lavalier microphone to this. Now, my next goal is to hook up an external lavalier microphone like the Sennheiser ME2 lavalier microphone to this actual device and see how much better the sound is, because I'm assuming it's going to be better because you're hooking up another $200 device. Now, just for reference, this Rode NTG-2 shotgun microphone is about $250, $275, maybe even $300, depending on what package you buy with it. It can usually be bought used. You probably can't find this thing new. As for the Rode Wireless Go, it's also, for the transmitter and receiver, about $200 and change, maybe close to $300, depending on how you purchase it. Now, even though these two microphones are essentially the same price, of course, setting these things up, especially the Rode NTG-2, will add on to the price, especially if you don't have the camera to truck this thing. If you don't have the camera that can supply everything that this microphone needs, then you're going to be SOL as far as everything. Now, my entire setup, we will say the Rode NTG-2 cost about $250-ish. You got the Zoom L4, it costs about $400, $500. And then you have the XLR jack. The XLR jack costs about $20 depending on what size you get. And then you have to have at least an SD card to go into the Zoom L4. You have to have Premiere Pro to sync it if you don't know how to sync it. And there's a whole bunch of other things that might be included with this process if you do not know how to use the Zoom L4. You got to actually have some know-how, so you might have to purchase some kind of a guide to help you. Like I know Curtis Judd has a really good guide for the Zoom L4. Now you might be saying to yourself, Devin, if you like the Rode NTG-2 so much, why don't you just use that on every one of your gigs? Well, here's the big difference between these two products. If I'm using this in a secure environment where I can just boom this overhead and use this for my YouTube videos, that's great. Some of my paid video gigs, I can use this, especially if it's like an interview or something like that, but I'm usually a one-man show. And I don't like having shotguns on top of my camera because this forces me to put my shotgun in one location where my talent might be in a drastically different location. Or I might be the talent myself outside doing a YouTube video with a model or subject teaching some kind of photography tutorial on YouTube. So with all that being said, this is a way better wireless setup. I can use this anywhere I want to go. It's a simple setup. I don't have to think about much because when I'm out in the field, the last thing I want to think about is actually my video. I actually want to be thinking about what I'm teaching, what I'm showing, and who I'm actually videotaping, and not necessarily the video itself when I'm out in the field. That's not my main focus. Now, when I have more people that I can staff and things of that nature, I'll get better at doing videos out in the field. But videos out in the field are just me catching B-roll of myself trying to do this actual video. So I need some kind of simple setup with quality audio with modular devices that you can actually hook up to this, like the Sennheiser ME2 lavalier microphone, and see how this works out. Because I do have another lavalier setup, the Sennheiser EW100G2. But that thing has thick antennas, it's heavy, it's bulky, the antennas always get bent in the pocket, and I know one day it's gonna fail me. But this little setup, I think it's gonna do a lot better for me. I'm Devin with SentryFX Studios, guys. If this helped you, which one do you like better? Which one suits your needs better? Let me know all these things in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.